Hello gorgeous people, how are you doing today? My name is Georges and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a quick review of the biggest, craziest, stupidest, most alarming moments of the first month of 2025. 31 days. January only had 31 days. That's crazy. Okay. Beginning of the year, we had TikTok that was supposedly banned in the US and then supposedly taken down and then came back up 8 hours after.
Owned by Chinese tech company ByteDance, the ubiquitous social network TikTok was met with a negative reception in 2020 by then-President Donald Trump. Trump's successor, Joe Biden, seemingly agreed with Trump. Hey, there's a first time for everything. Biden signed the No TikTok on Government Devices Act at the end of 2022, calling on ByteDance to sell TikTok to a US firm or be banned entirely.
This country has never taken the step of shutting down a speech platform, much less such an important speech platform.
Subsequently, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the bipartisan Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act in 2024, explicitly putting pressure on ByteDance to sell the platform by January 19th, 20.
Alright, let's start by laying the foundation for why TikTok was banned in the US. The first political entity in the United States of America to call for the banning of TikTok and Chinese companies in the United States was Donald Trump in 2020. I know motherfuckers are stupid and never pay attention, so they probably wouldn't get that, but yeah, he was. Him and the Republican Party. Now, the question is, was he wrong? Was he wrong in his initial calling for TikTok to be banned? Because what happened earlier this month in January is TikTok was taken down for 8 hours in the US. But what people had expected to happen at that date was not for TikTok to be taken down. That was a media move by TikTok themselves. What we had expected to happen to TikTok as of that date is what is happening to TikTok now. So when TikTok was banned, quote unquote, what happened was the way it's banned is you can no longer download or update the app from the App Store.
A reporter with us earlier today who pointed out that, look, it doesn't mean if you ban it that it disappears from everybody's phones overnight. They would still be there. It just wouldn't be available for download anymore in the app stores.
And that's where we are right now. So that was, in effect, what the banning was. The banning was never that TikTok was going to go offline the day of the ban. TikTok decided to make it go offline the day of the ban because they wanted to get people's attention, because they wanted people who are obsessed with it, people who make their money off of it, to get a huge reaction, and so Trump can come play savior and maybe work out a deal for it to work. They kind of partially accomplished what they wanted with that, with taking TikTok offline for 8 hours by making people feel that, by making the transition feel more stark, and then brought it back up online to the state of banning where it was supposed to be at that time anyway. Now let's talk about the question about whether or not TikTok should be banned, because the one argument that we all keep using for why TikTok should not be banned is that people's livelihoods now depend on it. That's the only kind of valid point in my view for why. The argument where that people are using about like how people get your information from TikTok, well, I don't know that that's necessarily led to a net positive, because people have gotten a lot of fake news from TikTok and from social media in general. So maybe going back to old-fashioned forms of news would be better. So I don't know that that like news is necessarily the argument for why TikTok should be kept. The argument that people's livelihoods and people's lives, and it's so intricately involved in Americans' lives today, that's an argument that is solid enough. That is solid enough for me to stand behind. Let's talk about the argument that people aren't talking about enough. The reason why maybe TikTok should be banned. What the fuck? Maybe it should be. Let's start by the very first, simplest argument, reciprocity. If you don't know what reciprocity is basically the idea that if you do something to me, I do the same thing to you. You have to ask yourself the question, how are US technology companies functioning in China? Well, let me tell you something that people aren't talking about. Is the number of US tech companies and US social media companies that cannot operate, that are currently banned in China. That's Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. All those companies are banned. So if we believe in the simple idea of reciprocity, then that's one argument already why I believe that if China has strong enough reason to believe that American companies operating in China isn't good, then maybe America should have strong enough reasons to believe that Chinese companies operating in America maybe should also not be good. Let's talk about another point, which is the idea of national security and privacy. Well, the reality is all US social media companies kind of are already munching on the data of the American people. All of them are exploiting our data. I don't think they only sell it to American companies, they sell it to companies worldwide, I think. So banning TikTok doesn't necessarily lead to the data of American people being preserved, because people are going to obtain our data from other social media platforms and can sell it to companies whether they're based in the US or not. Now, I feel like the idea behind that privacy concern mixed with national security interest, the connotation behind that is that TikTok or Chinese companies may be using their technology to gather data on Americans who are closer to national security secrets. And maybe that's how the idea of national security kind of blends with the idea of privacy and becomes a bigger issue. I'm not a national security expert, but there seems to possibly be some credence to that, especially if you take into account the fact that Chinese companies are afraid of US companies entering their market. If China is saying there's some national security concern of having US technology companies operating in China, then the reverse should also be true. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.